The progressive agenda is important. It's needed. And in 2021, there was a whole group, like a solid path of uplift and changing material conditions for people in this country that was agreed upon by the Congressional Progressive Caucus, who definitely is useless in this moment, and also about 36 other organizations. This was in 2021. And the premise was that they were going to that they did in fact set an agenda, and that this agenda would be implemented in the first 6 months of 2021. And unfortunately, most of this did not happen, but the roadmap is important. Let's revisit that roadmap. Let's take a look. The 7 planks of the people's agenda. Part 1, provide COVID relief that meets the scale of the crisis and addresses the disproportionate harm to Black, Indigenous, people of color, and other vulnerable communities, meaning poor people all across the board. Put people back to work, give workers more power, and transform to a clean, renewable energy economy. This president is giving out more oil permits than the president before him. Ensure health care for everyone, universal health care. The 7 planks of the people's agenda, part 2, let's take a look at that. Defend and expand voting rights, strengthen democracy, end corruption, dismantle racism, white supremacy, and inequality in all institutions. End endless wars and invest in diplomacy and peace. End corporate greed and corporate monopolies. I mean, I'm old enough to remember that when the Congressional Progressive Caucus just happened to send a letter and they were rebuked, and then they snatched back the damn letter. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that we're talking about here. We need intestinal fortitude. The progressive agenda is the agenda for most Americans because most Americans agree with those tenets. And then it's also time to implement the 21st Century Economic Bill of Rights. We remember that President FDR, he had an Economic Bill of Rights as well. This is drawing upon this. So the 21st Century Economic Bill of Rights, part 1, the right to a useful job that pays a living wage, the right to a voice in the workplace through a union and collective bargaining, the right to comprehensive quality health care, the right to a complete cost-free public education and access to broadband internet, which is a necessity, the right to decent, safe, affordable housing. Part 2 of that, let's lay it down. The right to a clean environment and a healthy planet. The right to a meaningful endowment of resources at birth and a secure retirement. The right to sound banking and financial services. The right to an equitable and economically fair justice system. The right to recreation and participation in civic and democratic life. I got to shout out Professor Harvey Kaye and the director of Progressive Democrats of America, Alan Minsky, for just laying this down and being able to work together to take what President FDR had put out in the 40s and refine it for the 21st century. This isn't some pie in the sky. These things can happen, Woz, because we are a hegemon nation. We can do those things.
Nina, I just, first of all, obviously I agree with every single thing you just said, but I do want to bring it back to the original point that you brought up, where Joe Biden and his cronies are bragging about this guy being the most progressive president of our time, allegedly. Let's just be extra clear here. We've seen worker militancy at a rate that is unparalleled in like sectors of the economy that are unrelated. John Deere, Starbucks, the rail workers, and let's stick on the rail workers for a second, right? These corporations cut jobs, they raise prices on everybody. Then the people who they manage to still keep employed, they don't raise their wages. So where's all this extra money going to? Then the workers show some level of militancy. They go on a strike at the most opportune time for themselves. And what do you know? Good old friend of the worker, Joe Brandon Biden, and his cronies in the Congress, they side on the side of who? Of management, of the money. So I don't want to hear this crap about this dude and his progressivism and this idea that workers and the citizens are supposed to just sit here and take all this crap. It's absolute garbage, honestly. And nobody's falling for it. More importantly, people can see the reality of their lives and know that this is crap. It's just crap.
There it is, Wise. Well, like we say in the Black church, when the sermon has been preached, amen. Amen to that. So we're gonna stay tuned to see what happens tonight. I think Big Wise and we got it right. There will be a spin, 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 and then spin on top of that, and people will be on top of their head, spinning, spinning, spinning. They're gonna continue to spin despite what Big Mama and Big Papa have to say about their lived conditions. There is something wrong with that.